Going live. Okay. So I want to pour my tea. Um, okay, we have a caller. We are live. I want to pour my tea. I was thinking of sort of starting this time. Hey girl. With like a bit of a little chat. But since we have a caller right away, oh fuck, I'm spilling tea. I don't want to leave them waiting for too long. Hi. I also think I need to go get a towel. This is one way to start. Hold on. I had a little plan. I was like, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna talk about some things I've been going through this week and how I've been managing. And then I just poured tea all over my desk instead. Want to make God laugh? Make a plan. Okay. So, hey, Alexis. Oh my God, what's up? Just gonna try to pour my tea and then we're gonna pop off. Caller, are you there?
Is my audio working? My video is not working for some reason.
There you are. Your audio is my thing recording? Yes. I can totally hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah, my
But
video is not working for some reason.
okay, well, that's okay with me. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. So, what's your name?
I'm CJ.
Oh my God, CJ, I feel like we're Insta besties.
We are. And I
Yes.
missed last week, so I was like hoping to get on this week.
Oh my God, I'm so happy that you called. What's the nature of your call today? How's it going?
It's good. I'm probably gonna have to mute if I have some like deadly screams from my toddlers downstairs, but
Relatable.
um it's so funny. Like I feel like I've loved all the recent pods and stuff that I've been able to hear you on recently, but
Yeah.
I want you to talk more about like birth and your birth story. And the reason I'm thinking about that today is I was able to help my sister deliver her baby yesterday.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And, she was in the hospital. We're in Chicago, so she was in like the huge main women's hospital here.
Hmm.
And it was just like my body was like screaming the whole time, like, I do not want this. I'm also pregnant right now and trying to,
Congratulations.
thank you. Um, Trying to persuade my husband that home birth is the way for us to go this time. We've had three others in the hospital setting.
Wow, you are a
Um,
brave woman for having so many children. That's awesome.
This one was a little bit of a surprise, but
Mhm.
rolling with it.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, so I feel like it's just something that's like going through my mind, and I would love to hear more about your experience. I know on like Dr. Will's podcast, you talked a little bit about, you know, the hospital system and that sort of thing, but it was top of mind, so I wanted to hear more about your birth and have you share a little bit more.
Sure. Well, thanks for inquiring about that. And I think that, for me, the way that I kind of felt about it the entire time was that the idea of being in a hospital was very unappealing and almost like my biggest fear, actually. Just because I didn't like the idea of being told what to do. And I think that, we have this idea about birth that somebody else does it for us. Like even the language that is used is like the doctor delivers your baby. And there's just this whole very like disempowered paradigm around birth. And I feel like if somehow you can kind of have that conversation with your husband, I mean, you sound like you guys are happily married, you have so many children, but I just get so rubbed by the idea that like you need your husband's permission to do what you want for your birth. Have you guys had that conversation?
Yes, we have. I mean, really, because so it's sort of like a longer backstory. The short end of it is our first birth was ended up being very traumatic. The delivery and my son was in the NICU for a while, and basically he was like not alive. So he was
Right.
because we were in the hospital where we were and the children's hospital. was right next door. He was able to be transferred there, and they saved his life and everything like that. So I think it's hard for him to let go of that security.
Right.
Um, when
What was the conditions of the first birth that led to that, if I may inquire?
right. So I think I'm in a place now where I'm like feeling like it may not have happened at all if
Yeah.
I were in a different environment for that birth.
Mhm.
Um, I think so it was just they had to end up using forceps, and
Oh,
I think he you can never know the real answer, right? But like I think it's very possible that what he went through was maybe because of that, and not necessarily that wasn't necessarily a life-saving measure. But it could be spun either way, and we wouldn't really ever know the truth of that.
right.
But I think for my husband, it's hard for him to feel he like for sure prioritizes my decision making, being the birthing person.
Right.
But I think, and we've done with like our second, we went to therapy and did a lot of processing through that to feel safer. And,
Oh, that's great.
even at that point, the therapist was like, listen, like I get that you're in charge, because this is your decision, but also do you want someone who's supposed to be there supporting you to also feel unsafe?
Right.
So it's sort of been throughout having, multiple children after that. It's sort of been this balance of what makes me feel safe and what makes him feel safe. And I'm, so far down the extreme now where I'm like, I just can't. Like being in the hospital yesterday I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Okay. So I think like for me, what was really important was finding a midwife that I trusted like through and through, like in my gut, knew that she really knew what the fuck she was doing. Is there a big midwifery community in Chicago?
There's not a ton. I mean, and I've been with the midwives group, but they're nurse midwives at the hospital, and so it's no different really than a traditional OB.
Right.
And we're now finding another who they're not currently. I guess Illinois is lagging in some licensure, and this is the first year that they're able to get some licenses or whatever. But I think she's still waiting on getting that, and then as soon as she does, she'll be able to practice in home.
Right.
And so we're hoping that that's the way that it goes, or I'm hoping anyway. And so we're kind of just like on her list.
And
Um,
what's the birthing center scene out there?
I think she also works at a birthing center. The problem is they're not like super local for us.
Right.
And so it being the fourth, I don't really want to sign up for like a 45-minute drive.
Oh my God. I mean, that was the thing for me where it was like people get in the car when they're in labor.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Like, I can't even imagine that. Okay, so I think like your first order of business is did you take Carson's Growing Together class?
Yes, I did. And I actually talked to her about signing up. I think I might do it again, just
Yeah.
coming from a home birth perspective, because
Yeah.
we were doing a hospital birth last time and it was still so helpful. I mean, I've obviously still chat with all the ladies, but yeah, I think taking it from like a home birth perspective is going to be really helpful.
Right, because then you're like kind of listening for different things and
Yeah.
gathering different information.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing, like, I mean, personally for me, this isn't like my journey, but there is like a big free birthing community. For me, like I just wanted someone there to like check his heart rate when I was pushing him out, which is like literally the only thing that my midwife and my OB really did. But it was my first child, so I didn't know what I was doing or or like I felt like I didn't want to go in blind, but I know there's like a lot of people who have a doula or a midwife or a friend who's like done this many times and like then they just birth their baby at home with armed with all the information and knowing that at any time they could go to the hospital if that's what they were like, if they felt intuitively like that there was something wrong. But I think like the first thing to do is really just like explore the conversation with yourself and with your husband around why the idea of the hospital even feels safer to begin with. Because
Yeah, I think. for him, it's just like having this medical safety net, right? Where you have all these experts who can jump in and quote, like, save you, right?
Right.
For me, I mean, I definitely don't feel that way. Like, even in, my sister is not as, I'm not like anti-medicine, but like, she's not as far down that spectrum as I am, but she still had her preferences, and they basically just like ignored every single one of them.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you're in that environment and there's like a team of 8 doctors, nurses, whatever, that rush in there, and you're supposed to be like, no, let's just wait. you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
So
Right.
it's to me like it's just not a place where I feel safe any longer. And I think that's really what he's gonna have to come around to. And also, like, I don't think he's obviously not as exposed as I am or have been to what options are and what things look like, and that there is a plan. Like, you do have a safety net. You could, you know, get in the car and go at any time. But I
Totally.
think it's interesting what you were just saying about like people who like know intuitively it's time to like go or pursue a different path. I
Yeah.
think for me, that's what I would have to tap into instead of being so like stubborn, like we're doing it this way. I want this like, super crunchy, whatever, and
Yeah.
tap more into that intuition because I feel like sometimes I swing the pendulum too far.
Well, there's a quote that's like, don't let your I'll think of the quote, but basically like the idea of it is that don't let your ideology get in the way of like what's good for you. So there was a point in my birthing journey where I was almost 42 weeks pregnant. My water hadn't broken, and I um was afraid that I was leaking fluid and that I might have to go to the hospital because in California they let you stay pregnant until 42 weeks for a home birth, and then after that the midwife and the OB who are overseeing my care are like legally bound to make me go to the hospital. And I was leaking fluid. I mean, I think actually I was just peeing myself, but there was the fluid concern. And then she came and checked and it was all good. But anyways, in this window of time, it was like 3 days. I mean, I was in like slow labor for 2 weeks, which was excruciating, but also kind of incredible because it was this like slow death of my former self transforming into like letting go and allowing the opening for birth to take place because it very much is like an unwinding. It's like it's spontaneous, but like up until the point where it's spontaneous, it's very much not spontaneous. At least that was my experience. Um, so the point I'm trying to make is that during that time, I had to interface with the idea that I might be forced to go to the hospital and that it might not go in the direction that I wanted it to go in. And having to surrender to the idea that I was going to have to let go of my plan was a really important part of the process, because it forced me to interface with what you're saying, which is that, like, as stubborn as I might be and as much as I wanted it to be one way, I would have to find a way to have my own experience inside of an environment that wasn't ideal for me. So I feel like
Right.
that moment that you're talking about, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own, or I'm going to figure out a way to reclaim my birth, but I'm also going to be open to the fact that I might have to adjust.
Right. And I think just being on this journey, it becomes, like you said, like the ideology becomes so strong in order
Yeah,
just to like,
because you're in a state of resistance because you have
right.
to be, because everything around you is trying to control you and tell you to do it a different way, or
Yes.
tell you to do it by the orthodoxy, and you're kind of like, no, like fuck that. This is my body, my journey, my baby. But at the same time, like you can't be so stubborn that you block the moment.
Right.
Because I feel like that's what becomes dangerous in general, not just with birth, but like with all things. Because
Absolutely.
you're in a communion and a conversation with the universe and with the energy. We're always co-creating with everything that's around us. So I think being receptive to that is really what you do need to tap into just in general with your intuition. Knowing you've done this so many fucking times.
You'd
Like,
think you'd learn something.
yeah, but I feel like because were in that situation where you weren't forced to step into that place, you feel almost like a fear or a trepidation because you're like, wait, can I trust myself to know?
Right.
And like that's, I think your journey of this pregnancy is just tuning in even more deeply to your own body and your own experience. And I mean, for me, like I got like one ultrasound in the beginning and I got a 3D ultrasound and I did like one genetic testing. I was just like, I want as little information from the outside in my brain as possible because I feel like the more that I take in, the less connected I am with my inner knowing.
That's very true. And I think I still like for that part, I still operate in that like, okay, well, I would want to know if blah blah blah. And so
Right.
I'm
And
kind of
like,
like, yeah,
right. I mean, what are the things that would make, like, for me, I wanted to know about like Downs and Tay-Sachs, and those were like
right.
weird fears.
Yeah.
And once I knew that, I was like, okay, the rest of this is trust. Like, I mean, I was so freaked out all the time if I like, I drank an extra glass of wine or like, you're constantly being confronted with fears, but I feel like that's the whole process of being pregnant and of giving birth is like you're confronting fears and then you're stepping boldly into that brave moment of the unknown where you fucking bring your baby in. Like it's almost designed to make you freaked out so that you end up like rising and being stronger.
Yeah.
At least that's how I felt. I felt like all of this is just a challenge and a preparation for what I need to do.
It's just such a bizarre transformation, honestly.
It really is. And like I wonder if you feel this like when I think about my own birth and I go back into or not my birth, not when I was born, but when I gave birth. When I say my birth, I'm always like, what a bitch. Like you're claiming your son's birth as your own.
Oh, I still do. I still pat myself on the back on every birthday. I'm like, way to go.
But the thing is that like when I try to remember or recall or re-feel into it, I'm just like, what the fuck was that? Like I feel like it's just the most insane psychedelic journey of your life.
And you actually can't remember until you're like, I bet that if you were to go through that process again, you'd be like, I forgot.
Yeah, and also I'm sure everyone is different too.
Yeah. It is, but it's this wild, like in between space that your brain and you're aware, like speaking of it in the past tense, you're aware that it happened, right? But
Yeah,
you
of
like,
course.
you really forget like how crazy that, like when you go to another dimension.
Yeah. The reason why I'm kind of holding back and in like when talking about my birth is because I feel like I was extremely lucky to be in California where like all the resources were very available to me and like obvious. So I think like your first job is kind of to do like due diligence and really finding that team or finding that support in that community that exists to where you feel comfortable in your own space and
It's
kind of
very true, but I feel like it's also important though, just like from a female perspective to have voices like yours. And yes, like we know that California is like a little bit, better in terms of like access to that sort of stuff, and especially, like being in Topanga. It's like, okay,
yeah,
yes, like everyone feels this. It's like it's like an on the table option for everyone you speak to.
right.
Like, yeah, home birth, okay. I don't think that I have literally one mom friend in where like the neighborhood that I live in that would be like even consider that.
Totally.
So it's a hard thing when it's like it's not even part of when you already feel like a rebel because it's not even part of your community when it is in fact like the more natural like n- you know regular way that it should have been, and
Yeah.
you already feel like you're like solo
I
lonely
think
out.
what you should do is like, do you follow the Free Birth Society?
I actually don't know if I do. I think I do actually.
Maybe
Yeah.
follow them and like reach out and see. See, the thing is, I feel like there's actually a lot of women doing this in a lot of places. It's just
Right.
so quiet.
Right.
So you kind of like you need to move out of the paradigm that you're in of who you know, not to say you have to like shun all your mom friends and like although that might be on the table too. But you need to kind of reimagine where you're looking for these things, I think, because right now you're in an environment that feels limited and limiting. And I really truly believe that no matter where you are, if you look for something hard enough, you will find it.
Yeah, and I think honestly it would be even more helpful for like my husband because it's just
Yeah.
you when you feel like you're in an echo chamber when you look around and no one is like everyone is talking the same language about something else and you're trying to be like, but wait.
And they look at you like you're crazy when you're just saying things that are real and true. And then it's almost like they're not even trying to gaslight you, but it feels like that just from their
Yes.
own limited point of view and perspective. And then so you're like, over time, you're kind of like, wait, am I the crazy one? Like what? The doubts start to seep in, and I feel like that's what you really need to protect yourself from and arm yourself with as many resources and tools as you can to come back with information that combats the status quo. And like that's why I was like, if people would kind of put their shit on me, at some point my boundary became so firm that I was like, that's your journey. Like I'm sorry that that happened to you or that you feel this way or whatever it is, but I'm not absorbing this because then I'm going to take your fear into my life and that's not what's up. And when you have information, it I think it resonates more because the conversation moves from being emotionally based to factually based. And I always find that when I have kind of rebellious or fringe conversations and back it with fact versus emotion, it goes a lot further. Maybe you and your husband should also watch The Business of Being Born.
Yeah, I think we've both seen it. I usually make him watch it once before each
You're
before each bridge.
you're like, I'm not a fucking new. Don't talk to
Yeah.
me. You know what I'm saying about just like about the information versus emotion thing?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I'm one of those people that's like, even before I start getting into facts, I'm like, you know me and you believe that I'm an intelligent person. So
Right.
like I am free to make my own decisions. And it's
Yeah.
less about, I think I get too caught up sometimes in thinking that I'm going to have to defend myself and my decisions. It's
Mhm.
more about just like you know, feeling supported and feeling secure in like the community that you keep around you and whether or not that's like by choice or just by like geography or whatever it is. It's
But like
still.
you might have to accept that you're the intrepid leader of the consciousness shift in your community. Like you might have to be the one that spearheads this awareness and this awakening in some capacity.
I mean, I would like to get that printed on a business card.
I sometimes it's
Intrepid leader.
we're looking around for someone to give us permission, but it's like we're the ones. We're the ones who have to give ourselves and other people permission.
Yeah,
I
I mean, I think
struggle with
I
that
think of
too.
yeah, I think for the most part, like especially in like there's so many other facets of motherhood, especially that I've
Yeah.
had to be that and do that the fear of that is I'm really over it, you know? Like I don't care if they're gonna think I'm weird for like making my school change like cleaners because I don't want my kid like exposed to the whatever, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so it's sort of just I'm over that part. It's more just like supporting my husband through that transition too.
Right.
Um, and it's just, because
But
it is
okay,
it
something else that I'll say is sometimes we can't it's like we have to lead by example with relationships, right? So um you want to support your husband, but you can't force him to see something. So it's like you have to see it, find it for yourself, right? Like you right now you don't have the midwife or the community or any of those things that you need, right?
right. I mean, we're talking to the midwife is actually like the business partner of the doula we had last time.
Oh, cool.
So, he's like comfortable with that. Like it's, his journey has been a little bit, like he's still coming along. Like in the beginning, he was like a doula, what? And now he's like, absolutely 100%. We're not doing this without a doula. So
That's
he progresses. It's just not as. It's not like he's following the Free Birth Society on Instagram.
Oh my God. I mean, I would love to see your husband's reaction watching Freebird on Instagram. Film that and put that on online as content because everyone needs to see that. But I think it's like just keep going on your own exploration and keep trusting yourself and keep communicating with him. And like it sounds like he wants to follow along, he wants to trust, he just has to work through his own fears. And you're probably exhausted by always helping people work through their fears in this capacity, but this is just the warrior's journey, sister.
It's true.
Like, we just have to keep going and keep demonstrating that there isn't something to be afraid of. And even if there are fears, like through talking about them and examining them. And I think the Carson's class is so good because it can illuminate why it's valid to have fears on the other side. But
Yeah.
something that I really also wanted to work through with my own thing, and this is what I was saying in that window where I was like, I might have to go to the hospital. Like, I also had to let go of the fear of that because the fear of what you don't want is also powerful.
Right.
Be like if I'm so afraid of going to the hospital, then it might be that like it would manifest that I'm gonna have to go to the hospital because I'm gonna have to fucking confront that fear. So I think just like you said, not putting anything in the position of being so stubborn against it and really just like working through and talking through all the options and preparing yourself for both, but committing to the home birth thing. I think that's the biggest thing is like it is the commitment. Like you're gonna have to tell your husband, like, we're doing this
Yeah.
period. And like, I need you to like get on board. I need this. I need you to take in this information. I need you to trust me. I need you to be there for me. And I also need you to pack me a fucking hospital bag in case things go in the other direction. Like it's not one or the other. It's just preparing for all, but telling him very firmly, like, bro,
Yeah.
fucking grab your balls and let's do this thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the direction we're going in. I'm kind of, we had like a first like chat about it and I'm giving him some time to like marinate, but I
Oh, you
think that
just told him.
yeah, I mean, I like originally said like, listen, I'm going to want to consider this. And then we had like a chat with this midwife to kind of explain like what it looks like because he's
Yeah,
never really even processed like what that could look like.
right.
So I'm sort of giving him a moment to marinate in it, but then I think, but I think there's probably a lot of like content that I could help him, you know, expose him to that would help him see like at least where I'm coming from, even if he doesn't eventually like agree on all points, but
Yeah.
just to see where, why it is that I think about things the way that I do.
And
And
I do think it's going to be important though, eventually for him to like fully get on board because you don't want like a trepidatious, fearful man when you enter the birthing space.
right. Yes.
Like at some point, however many months down the road from here, like he's going to have to be like, I'm fucking all in.
Yeah,
And I think you having a firm boundary about that, like obviously with love and being understanding and helping him to get all the information that he needs is really important because
for
that's
sure.
part of your journey of empowering and trusting yourself as well.
For sure. But I just think, what like avoid I just I'm sort of now just complimenting you because I think the way that you are putting yourself out there, especially when it's like topics like this that may or may not be like controversial, but like Dr. Cole's podcast has a pretty wide audience and the way we casually came up and you were like, listen, I just think, and you're always have like a little underlying humor. I think it makes the conversation easier for people. And
Yeah.
I appreciate the way that you are approaching it and putting it out into the world. And I think it's just super helpful to hear a voice like that.
Thank you so much. That really means a
You're
lot to
welcome.
me. And I hope that I was able to help you a little bit today in a personal way.
For sure.
It's hard because like with me, I was lucky, like my partner Tyler, like he was born at home.
Yeah.
So like I never had to have this conversation with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We're like almost the opposite. My husband's
right.
like all his family's doctors.
Right. And that's
Like,
such a strong conditioning and worldview.
oh yeah, like we don't speak about my medical choices in front of his family.
You're like the unvaxxed, like black sheep in the corner on Christmas.
He's like, don't talk about it. We're not going to get invited to the birthday parties if our kids are sick.
Oh my God. It's like, I swear to God, every time I go into any space and I'm like, I'm not going to talk about it, like 10 out of 10 times it comes up where I'm just like, hold your tongue, Steph, don't say anything. And I'm like, well, actually, if you follow the research, like I literally can't hold it in.
I know. He stares at me from across the table at like, work functions and he's like, fucking shut up, CJ.
Listen, he chose to marry somebody who sees things, and he's lucky. He's lucky. He's lucky that he has you to illuminate the path for him.
Oh, he's come a long way. I mean, I think he's like very, yeah, we have zero arguments about this just call it an election season.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's also interesting too because it sounds like you guys have been together for quite a while.
yeah, we've been married for 10 years.
Yeah, so like so much not only just naturally in relationship 10 years people are evolving and changing, but just the state of the world and like what we I'll speak for myself, like the person I was 10 years ago would look at the person I am now and be like, whoa, really? Like, okay. Like, that's how you see things, I think a lot of how I feel now and how I operate now is very much in contrast to how I thought the world was and what I thought about the world 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think like good on you guys for being together and continuing to evolve and have conversations and grow together because it's really hard in a world that so much is changing so rapidly and we're evolving and coming into these new awarenesses. Like I can imagine it's difficult to maintain that bond with somebody. So I think it's really awesome that you guys are doing that and that he is open to hearing from you and all of that.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey.
I'm sure. I mean, 3 kids, 4 on the way. I bow down the strength and the tenacity that you have on your journey.
It's kind of insane, actually.
I'm like,
Now,
I'm good with the one. Thank you
yeah,
so much.
now, now that we're talking about it out loud, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, but I think
Um,
like feeling back and seeing that and giving yourself a pat on the back and kind of having that awareness is really important because I think sometimes we just go so hard in our life and we forget to have perspective.
yeah, it's wild. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for, doing this whole medium. This is awesome.
But maybe
And
somebody who's watching, or I don't know, like in some way, like Chicago moms, can help you. Or do you follow Jamie Arrigo on Instagram?
yeah,
So she's like a radical home birth mama. So maybe communicating with her. I think like just try to fill your brain and your space with all the things that confirm your bias in this sense. Like normally I wouldn't advise to like seek information that confirms your bias, but you already have so much of the information about the other side of things. So right now your job is to fill yourself with things that educate and illuminate and confirm what you already feel and believe to be true because that's how you're going to come back into trusting yourself and that's how your husband is going to get on board. So I think you need to quiet the known right now and go fully into the new journey of okay, how do I fill the space with new information?
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's less about just like confirming bias and more just feeling like I have support. There are people that, are supportive.
Yeah, and you do. And you will see that the more that you seek that.
Oh, all right.
Is that a baby?
It's the 2-year-old.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So good to connect with you, and I will see you in the DMs.
Thanks, Stephanie. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Bye. Okay. Wow, that was so great. CJ, thank you so much. Maybe I'll scroll back. We don't have another caller in the waiting room right now, so if anyone wants to call in, the call-in link is in my bio. We've got 20 more minutes. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. Yep. Yep. Interesting to hear this as a non-mom, but considering the topic women's rights over their own bodies. Yeah, I think, it's just such, I mean, I feel like we're so lucky to be alive in a time where this conversation is really starting to come online and become like, maybe it's just my algorithm, I don't know, but I feel like the birth conversation and the unlearning and the relearning is a real movement right now. And I think that's so amazing because I just hear so many stories of women, our generation, the generation before, our mom's generation. Like, there's just so many horrible things that happen inside of the hospital paradigm because in under the auspice of like helping you and saving you. And so much of that is hi, so much of that is a lie. And it takes somebody who's really determined and really aware to go and seek the information and the support that they need. And so I think anyone that tries to do that is very, very brave and not like tooting my own horn because like I said, in California, it was like not hard to find that. Um, maybe it took a bit of bravery for me to actually do it, to actually follow through and do the home birth and do the birth naturally. But I felt really grateful that I had the community around me. And as I'm on the road right now, thinking about relocating to the East Coast, that's like you'll see it's snowing out here right now, snowing in upstate New York. That's something that I think about. I'm like, can I relocate somewhere and find the type of like-minded people when it comes to that type of thing that I could find in California? I mean, there's an argument that in California, there's also, hey Mary, there's also like not an open-mindedness. There's also the people that like say things like my body, my choice, and then like want vaccine mandates. So, I mean, and our state was one of the main states with like all the closures and all the insanity during COVID. So it's a give and a take. Um, but yeah, I think if you have an intuition to birth like that, then it's your job to do that, to find a way to do that, to find the information. Because it's out there. Mm, I got a call today on the voicemail, but I think I fucked up. Should we call them back? Because I was with Asher, so I like stopped it, but I think it like accidentally sent it to my voicemail and not the. Let's just call them back. It's rogue. It's rogue as hell. Okay. They're probably gonna think it's like a telemarketer. 833 is a really weird, sad. Um, guys, someone else jump in the
Your
room.
call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach.
Okay. Well, that person did not want to pick up. Okay, since no one's joining, I guess I'll do the thing that I was talking about before, which is I didn't talk about what um this week has brought up for me and offer solutions of how I've been moving through it. Um, so as some of you may or may not know, we've been on the road since the end of August. We got in the car in California on August 25th and we drove to North Carolina, stopping along the way, and then stayed there for a month and then drove up to New York. And now we've been on a journey in New York. And then on Monday, we're leaving New York and we're going even further up into the Northeast, into Maine and Massachusetts and Connecticut. That's the next plan. But the whole thing has been a journey of trying to think about where we want to relocate, where we want to raise Asher, what energy feels best for us. For me, after giving birth in LA, I just felt like, oh my God, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, it just did not feel I felt like I couldn't drop into my body. I felt like I wasn't really aligning with the value system, like what I was speaking about before. Is funny because, like, yes, the birth space was really great for me, but then everywhere else after that that I looked just felt like, no, this isn't, I don't feel like this is where I'm my mom self. And a big part of that was, I'd been living in LA for 17 years and moved there to pursue a career in acting, ended up becoming a comedian, podcasting. Um, but it was always like very career driven for me and like mentally focused. And then after I had my baby, it was like my brain just turned to mush and I moved fully into like feeling and intuition, and like this whole like psychic center of me opened up, and I just felt so not aligned with the energy around me. And I felt like almost like I can't become the next version of myself in this place. It's like this place represented career, and now I need to go somewhere and start over and be, where's my family and my mom life happening? Um, so that journey started in the end of August, and it's been amazing. It's been such an unwinding. There's been so much deep internal interfacing with fears and regrets and the past, and making peace with the girl that I was that moved to LA to become a comedian, and um did all of those things and became that person. I actually moved there to become an actress, but whatever, the person that lived that career, I really had to kind of like mourn her in the process of becoming a mother. And it happened a lot on the drive, really. Like there's so much time in the car and there's so much space to think, and it's like you're driving through layers of yourself. That's like why traveling is so amazing, because it really does allow you to peel back layers, and getting out of your habits and getting out of your comfort zones really just makes you confront yourself and see yourself differently. Um, anyways, it's been ongoing, and I was feeling really like positive and good about it. And we landed in Woodstock, and even though I'm like, this isn't where I want to be, it was feeling good. And then the past few days, I was kind of like, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I had this kind of, I'm tired, I want to get off the road, I want home moment. And I felt sort of like at a crossroads, or in this space of suddenly like not having a clear vision and it feeling like really freaky. And a little bit of anxiety came up. And so, and then I got a sty, and then I got a clog in my tit, and I was just like, like, whoa, something's happening. And so I felt like it was this opportunity to just like stop and come back to right now. Like stop worrying about where, like right now I'm fine. I'm in an Airbnb. I have my family with me. Everything is all good. I don't need to spiral about the future, or feel impatient about the future, because the future is, it's happening. And so what I did, I just was like, okay, got to come back to the present. I started walking more. I started going to yoga, um, and just kind of like talking about it with Tyler, and just dropping in with Asher and really dialing back my participation on like the pace of technology and the phone. I think like it's sad because on one hand, I really do like technology, and I really do like that we can all connect in this space, and it's very, very cool. On the other hand, like every time I turn on my phone, I feel like I'm barraged with the threat of nuclear war or a health outbreak or something just like so terrible and scary. And that also makes it really difficult to ground into the present, because it's like, what is life? What am I doing? Where am I going? Where am I safe? Like it just triggers so many different things. Um, And so that was my slow down moment. And then the download was kind of like, don't lose faith just because you can't see the future. Just because you don't know where you're going and you haven't seen the unfolding of your intention yet, don't lose faith. Just trust that you're on the path and just ask and look for signs that you're on the path. And I started doing that, and then I started getting confirmation like, yes, you're still on your path. Just be patient, because I feel like right now, and then I reposted that thing that Allie posted, Allie Offsettle, amazing astrologer and friend. I reposted that because I feel that it's like so much is unfolding and yet so much is yet to be seen. So I don't know, I'm just kind of echoing that because I hit a point in my journey this week where I was like, where are we going and what are we doing and what does it all mean? And it kind of got me down. But then the thing that got me back up was just coming back into the present, connecting with nature, going to yoga, doing all the things that I know that make me better. That's very obvious, I think, but it just felt like it needed to be said. And then on a practical note, so for the clog and for the sty, I started taking chlorophyll. I've been doing like 1 tablespoon of chlorophyll in water every single day, and the inflammation like went down within 2 days. And normally, and I didn't do anything for my sty. I literally didn't touch it. I didn't do what I normally do, which is like aggressively hot compress, or I didn't do anything. And it completely went away. And then same with the clog. The other thing I did for the clog, which was like kind of rogue, but I feel like genius, is I used my facial cup. So this is for moving lymphatic fluid and like fine lines and moving the fascia on your face. I took this and I put it on the clog and like just gently moved it, and it fucking worked. Like it literally moved the tension and the inflammation out of this part of my breast, and it's still tender because you know how it is, like if you have a clog and then it still kind of hurts for a couple days. But facial cup for tit clogs. Hot tip. Um and yeah, those are my those are my little reflections and feelings for the week. But does anybody else want to call in? We just had one call today. I know that you guys are shy. Maybe you don't know where to do it. The link is in my bio, so hop into the room. Oh, another thing is at 5 p.m. Wait, 5 p.m. PST. So that's 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Michelle, Terra Rising, is doing a meditation for new beginnings. And I feel like I just want to really recommend that because I feel like a lot of us are going through that right now. And it's kind of speaking to what I was saying about like not losing faith and trusting the moment. But I feel like there's a lot of people that I talk to that are going through I guess it would be like a restart. And Michelle just always has this way of activating the energy, and I swear she's the reason why I got pregnant and met Tyler. She really cleared me out. Um, but obviously as well as the work I was doing on my own. But yeah, there's this energy right now of starting again, and I think there can be fear that comes up with that. There can be impatience that comes up with that. And so I really recommend, I'm going to do her, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to do it too, because I feel like that's what I'm going to, where I feel like I've planted so many seeds and there's so many things that I envision in this whole new life that I want to step into that hasn't arrived yet. But we are all in that space, and it's exciting. And the Pluto Aquarius transit, like it's all changing and it's all happening and it's fucking awesome. But we just have to open our heart to it and not try to retreat to what was or our comfort zone, because That no longer exists. That's gone. Now we're coming into a place of building again, and that requires patience and bravery and listening and intuition and taking the next right step and trusting that it's all unfolding in divine time, she says to herself. Okay, well, it's really sweet that all you guys are here in this Instagram live, but I'm gonna need you to go over to the Zoom room, call in, press, press the Zoom link and come on in because that's the whole point of this. Yes, I had a kid. Thank you so much. The news is insane, and I feel like it's only going to get more crazy because there's just no way that all of a sudden Trump became president and the media is going to like let us go sweetly into the night. That's not what's happening. It's going to be like a ramp up of insanity and fear, and we need to do so much more to protect ourselves against it. So much staying in our own space, connecting with the world around us, leading with love, like the less we consume of that shit, the better. Um, my strategy in human design is to respond, and that's why I really wanted to do this call-in. But nobody's calling in, and I'm just fucking rambling. So if that's the case, then or you guys can drop comments in the Instagram if you want me to respond to that. Or I can just play my crystal ball, or I can just eat my banana. Choose your own adventure. Everyone's waving. Everyone's sweet. Hop in the Zoom room. The link is in my bio. You might have to get out of the live to go to the Zoom. But go do it. Questions, comments, concerns, advice, whatever you want. You want to talk about culture? I'm here. You want to talk about your emotions? I'm here. You want to talk about your relationship? I'm here. You want to talk about something that happened to you when you went out to town into town today? I'm here. I'm here for whatever you want. I feel like in my personal life, I'm the person that everyone calls for health advice. Julie, I'm my girl. Hell yeah. Thank you. Thank you for braving your way into the Zoom room. Are you there? You're on mute, girl. Oh, she came in and she came out. What happened? We were so close. All right, I'm gonna stay on for, okay, she's back. She's back. Hello? You're on mute. Julie? Julie? Unmute yourself, girl. Lady, woman. I don't know you. I'm sorry to call you girl. I don't know if that's like not empowered feminism. I don't mind being called girl from another girl. I might mind it if some man was like, you go, girl. No, actually, that sounds sweet. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to unmute. Are you on your phone? Do you want to go live on Instagram with me? Is that easier for you? On your computer, just press the audio button on the left bottom. Ah, hello,
Oh, hi.
did it.
It worked.
Hey. What's up? How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was just rambling till all I I don't know what the fuck I was just talking about. I'm really glad you called in.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's so cool to see that you're doing this live and I'm not really sure like what type of questions you're fielding, but
Any and all.
okay.
Be free. It can be personal, cultural, relational, health, like anything you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm,
Well, I guess
all in.
I guess maybe just I'm going through like what seems like it's a breakup like as
Okay.
we speak. So I'm like
Oh,
emotional about it.
okay.
Yeah. But it's hard because like our we're in couples therapy and she said like we had a breakthrough because like she kind of realized that like our problems are stemming from like PTSD for me, apparently from like emotional abuse from a past partner. And I guess I didn't really realize that that was going on. And that's like why I'm so reactive to like some of the things that my current partner does. And so I'm just like, okay, great. Now I can like start healing and like we can do this together. But it's like he has already lost trust in me because um he's just like tired of me like basically yelling at him or whatever, which I realize that I probably have done what my previous partner did to him, which is so horrible and so painful. But I'm just like really struggling with like letting the relationship go and like knowing that it's gonna be okay because like I feel like I've done this in the past, but it's just I feel like he's such a big part of my identity at the moment. And
Mhm.
like I do want to make things work, but I also I know it's not realistic, but I'm still in denial about it. So because it's so fresh.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
Okay. And you don't want to break up.
Yeah, I don't really want to break up. I mean I really don't want to break up. Um,
You guys live together?
we do. That's part of the issue too.
Okay. Can you guys take some space from each other?
Yeah, I think that's actually like the best advice, really, because we do have a guest room and I've been like sleeping there occasionally for the past 2 weeks. Um, so I think maybe I'll just continue doing that until things get better or like seem to get better. So I don't know. I just like part of me just like doesn't want him to be out of my life. So it's like, because I don't know, it's like even if we aren't like meant to be together forever, because he's like, oh, I don't see this long term because you can't seem to like stop bringing my ex, for example. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I
Stop
can't.
what?
I'm like, I can't stop bringing up his ex. Like for a while, I was like doing that a lot just because I was insecure and my previous partner was like lied all the time. So I just did have some trust issues, but at the same time, I do trust him. So it's just like, it's, I don't know. I'm a mess right now. But yeah.
Well, I think that, it seems like he's kind of at his breaking point at the moment.
Mm,
And when you talk about that you don't want him out of your life, like it's kind of interesting the way that you're describing yourself not wanting to break up. Like you're not saying like I can't live without him. I'm so in love with him. I really
mm.
feel like he's the one. I really want to marry him and have kids with him. You're not saying any of that.
Yeah. I mean, I do want all of that, but I'm also like, he's like 6 years younger than me. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, you know, older,
Mhm.
38, and he's like 32, or whatever. I'm 37, he's 32. And so he knows that I have a timeline. So I gave him 6 months, like 6 months ago. And so that's what he was
Of
like.
what?
What?
You gave him 6 months of,
Oh, to like decide if we were gonna be together long term. Like not necessarily a proposal, but kind of like an intention of a proposal, basically. Because we've been together for 2.5 years. I just wanted something like that, but he wasn't ready to do that. So he's like, here's where I'm at. Like, I don't want to waste your time. Like, I'll also like I don't want my time to be wasted. So like if you can stop bringing up my ex and stop yelling at me, then we can make this work. But like I need to see the changes. And I was able to up until like our couples therapy session. And then my couples therapist saw me like freak out on him. And she's like, whoa, I think you have PTSD from emotional abuse from a previous partner.
yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, but I don't know. Like, I guess the reason I'm doing it doesn't necessarily make a difference, but it's also like, I just feel so bad that I was doing this to him this whole time, and like, he doesn't deserve that either. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, sometimes, relationships, they say like a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And it might just be that this person has been this gift to you to really bring you into this space of awareness to show you what it is that you need to heal. And he might not be the vessel through which you heal that. You might have to do that work on your own to really unpack that and examine that because you're not going to just change overnight just because now you realize this.
yeah,
You
right.
might just really need to like do that work, and you might need to break up with him and trust that if he is meant to be in your life, then he'll be in your life. But you can't stay close and codependent and living with someone and doing all of this work and force him to be in a place that he's not in.
Yeah,
Like you're the person that you end up having a long-term relationship with or a family with might be him, but it might not be him. And you can't just give someone an ultimatum and expect them to respond.
yeah,
He was probably like, okay, and he doesn't want to break up with you either, but that's also just like he's on his own timeline.
yeah,
And it's not always like I think now that you know that you have PTSD, you have to examine that with yourself. You can't like use him to
yeah.
do that work for you. If he's willing to communicate about it with you, then yes, and maybe you do need to like have you apologized and told him that like he doesn't deserve to be treated that way and that you are making a commitment to do that work.
Yeah, I have apologized and like yeah, like last week I apologized again and he's just like I don't see like what's gonna be different in the future. Like why? Like why are you like, suddenly having like these realizations and things like that, which I mean I feel like I did have some realizations and I was able to let some stuff go, but only because we were like still working on our relationship. Like he broke up with me basically, and then the next day we got back together for like a week and a half.
Well, it's not really fair to say, why are you having these realizations now? I mean, that's what like evolving and growing is. You realize things as you go along on your journey and you heal these things. That's the whole thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
That's what you can say to him because I didn't see it before and now I see it, and that's why it's happening now.
yeah.
But I do think that, it sounds like you have to really address this and figure out how to kind of control yourself. And how you're going to do that is you're going to sit with those parts of yourself that your therapist is saying are traumatized.
Yeah.
Like you really need to examine what that is. I don't know what your process is, if you're a journaler, if you talk to friends, if you have your own therapist, like whatever it is, like you need to unpack that because you can't just make a decision to stop a behavior and stop it if it's coming from a deeply rooted, triggered emotional place. It's just going to keep happening. And
Mhm.
but awareness is a great place to start.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I've been journaling about it and talking to my therapist. Well, just the couples therapist. My personal therapist doesn't really know that much, so I guess I'll have to loop her in.
I
But
think you should definitely talk to your personal therapist about it and not just depend on the couples therapist. Because as much as a relationship can be a beautiful place to evolve and work through things together, it sounds like in your dynamic, you might have crossed a boundary for him. And it's no longer like his responsibility as your partner to help you work through this. There's some work that you need to go and do on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't necessarily mean breaking up, but you have to do that work on your own to demonstrate to him and show him that you're working and you're changing. And
Mm-hmm.
that it's not his responsibility to do that for you or with you all the time when you've clearly hurt him and he's putting up a boundary against you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And maybe you do need to break up. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of your situation, but I think sometimes there's a lot of power in surrendering to like, if that's what someone's saying to me, then maybe that's what needs to happen. And I just need to let that happen in order to grow and become my best self.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing's permanent. Like if you break up, it doesn't mean that you're going to be broken up forever. I mean, I know 2.5 years is a good amount of time um to put into something, and you guys clearly care for each other. But you can't, yeah, you can't force someone to be on your timeline. I think that the idea that you can be like propose or get out is already to me like a major red flag.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
age doesn't really matter. I don't think that's any of the details. I just think it's like we're all on our own soul's journey. And if this isn't aligning for you, and maybe he's triggering things for you in a good way that you need to heal, but at the same time, it might not be for you to be with someone who's so triggering to you all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm sorry that you're going through it. That's really, really sucky.
Thank you. Yeah.
But nothing comes up by accident. Everything comes up with a purpose. And I think you just need to take this pain as an opportunity to dive deep and address what it is that is causing these behaviors in you, because it is true that even if your next partner isn't as triggering, you will take that emotional trauma or those patterns into whatever relationship you're in, and you'll keep on repeating those things until you learn the lesson and you grow and you let it go.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility. You need to take radical personal responsibility for yourself in that dynamic with anybody.
Mm. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Okay, Julie. Well, I'm really, really sorry, but you know what? This is a beautiful golden opportunity to heal, and you have all the resources you need. You have multiple therapists. There's so many resources. Do you do like practicing any mindfulness or anything like that?
I do a little bit of yoga
Okay.
and um just like walking.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you need to go and have a different type of experience, like a bodily experience where you're just with yourself and you sit with. I think yoga is so great for me. That's always the place I go to work everything out. Where I can't lie to myself. Everything just emerges and I have to interface with it. And then if I don't have the tools to work it out, at least it comes to light in that space.
Mm,
Comes to light, and then you bring it to your therapist or you bring it to, whoever you use as counsel to work through it.
yeah, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I want you to smile.
Thank you.
And
It's been-
thank your team and thank your partner for creating the opportunity for you to heal.
yes, I
Instead
will
of
try
trying to
and
thank him, I mean, instead of trying to change him, start thanking him.
mm, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. I'll
Yeah.
try.
You got it.
Thank you.
Okay, well, relationships can be challenging. But I said it and I mean it, and it's that nothing is exposed to you that's not meant to be dealt with and healed. So if it's coming up, it's up for review. It's time to let it go. It's time to shift. It's time to explore. It's good. It's an expansion into a new journey. Now it's 4:12, so we really did this thing. This was really lovely, and I thank everyone for calling in. I thank everyone for being on Instagram. I hope oh my God, Wilcatica, Peru. If anyone can go to Peru, they should go and stay at Wilcatica. It's talk about a place to interface with uh pain, grief, law, anything. Fly down to Wilcatica and fucking be reborn. That's my sign off. Okay. Lots of love, and I will see you next week, same time, same place. I hear Asher now, so I'm gonna go downstairs. But see you here next week. Mwah.